out of many reasons why I wanted to go to New York to study film, and apart the fact Warhol and David Bowie, and there was Woody Allen. And I discovered his movies early my life, late his work, but with Bananas. And that was around somewhere in the early 80s, and Stallone was huge, Sylvester Stallone, and he's doing a little, I don't know whether it was his part or he was doing a cameo in Bananas in the train with Woody Allen. I thought that was a hilarious scene. And then I started discovering The Sleeper, Take the Money and Run, all the other Woody Allen movies. And then I'm in Manhattan. I go and see in this huge, one of the largest screens in Manhattan, Crimes and Misdemeanors, somewhere in the late 80s. And brilliant, deep, dark, funny, witty, very smart movie. And I love the way he brings this murder mystery together. Not only that, and all the other intellectual, comical things that happens in the movies. So Woody Allen, but not Woody Allen. And then you come across Manhattan Murder Mysteries, which is again another kind of it's Woody Allen, but I remember once Pedro Almodovar was talking about Woody Allen, and he was saying it was his favorite movie. Not Crimes and Misdemeanors, but Manhattan Murder Mysteries. I think they're both very great movies, and tonight I revisited one of his recently great movies, Midnight in Paris. I was just going through, for one of my own researches, I'm doing some great time travel movies, and I must say, it's just for the second time or the third time, it just touched me again. What a brilliant movie. He managed to take our fantasies and desires with us into the movie, and you get lost. I mean, I would get lost. And it's brilliantly done. I mean, it was out of my mind for a while, and then when I rewatched it again, and I just thought I want to talk about it. And I'm not going to talk about it because many people have talked about it, but I just wanted to sort of remind everyone, sort of like when you were watching Manhattan and all these other Woody Allen movies, and me living in Manhattan, it was so Manhattan, so New York. And my early days working at Tower Records, I would run into, I mean, everybody would hide. Most of the male sales clerks at the Tower Classical would hide when Susan Sontag would drop by, and I was one of the brave ones because I was a foreigner. I was like a howdy partner, Birdie Num Num, and she knows that I was foreign, and she would always talk to me very nicely. And when I asked everybody why they're hiding, it's difficult to deal with her. I don't know. That's what everybody else told me, but I thought she was very sweet, and it was very good to meet people like her and a bunch of people in Tower Classical, Tower Records. I met from Ruchi Sakamoto. I mean, I met him first time over there, and then of course I sort of became acquaintance because I was telling him about a movie that I want to make with him as one of the gods, and gods from heaven and everything. he was asking me what am I doing, and then I said, oh, you know, I work for Philip Glass, and they're like, oh, okay, here's my address. Drop me the script. If I like, I'll do it, and don't give anybody my address. And that was very sweet of him to do that. It was. I actually came across many interesting people. Some frequent visitors like David Byrne of Talking Heads. Myself and another friend of mine who was running the till, one of the sales clerk. We were talking about the Dune, David Lynch's Dune, and then suddenly one man who was trying to ring his, CDs, suddenly said, I like the director's cut. And I was looking at it, oh wow, this is David Byrne of Talking Heads, Psycho Killer, qu'est-ce que c'est? But you want to be cool, you don't want to be like jumpy and everything. It's just like calm down. So, aren't you going to do any movies again? Because he had done his first movie already. And then he said, well, I tried last year and I tried this year. I'll try again next year. That was kind of funny. Yeah, well, so coming back to Woody Allen, and especially Midnight in Paris, I was just trying to tell all these other people, my meeting with, actually working with Allen Ginsberg, late Allen Ginsberg, and working for Philip Glass and his studio. My friend Steve getting me that job. One day I received a phone call from him and I was like, hey Booty, you want to earn an extra few bucks? You want to come and work over here? And I was like, yeah, I jumped at it. And then David Bowie recording Earthling while I was, working there, and Dante Diso, one of our buddies, he was the recording engineer doing the recordings for him, and Jaron Lanier walking by, and all this. And when I think of my life, like Andy Warhol says, like those 15 minutes and meeting Steve Buscemi through a very great friend of mine called Forrest Weiss. He did a movie called Life is Nice, and he wanted me to give a copy that Steve had done a cameo for that movie, and Steve Buscemi has done a cameo, and he asked me to pass it to Steve since I was living in New York, and I managed to call him, and we met a few times, and then he invited me to come and see his place, and I would show up days later, and they're like, oh, we've already shown that piece of work, it's closed today, and blah blah blah. I would meet him. Those were crazy days, and it was nice. It was running into Pedro Almodovar, all these crazy heroes in a way of mine. Daniel Day-Lewis walking up and asking for his CDs, soundtracks he wanted to buy, and helping up in Tower Classical. Adam Sandler waiting. I think he was in a movie called The Tank. I'm not too sure if I'm correct. And he was signing, I don't know whether it was videos, DVDs or whatever, I can't remember, soundtrack or whatever, and at Tower, and he was, most of the time there were no people, he was just sitting there and signing, and for whoever came by, and I was like looking at him like, wow, why is he's not a famous actor and he's sitting by himself, and too bad. And today he's one of the biggest Adam Sandler. And so watching Midnight in Paris, which is a great era, amazing, like original guys at that time, doesn't mean like, you know, and Woody Allen brings all, even our memory, our nostalgia, he touches all these things and bring all these characters, Dali, Picasso, Buñuel, and it's really, really a great, great film. When you watch about 3-4 times, it's get into you, and it's pretty cool. I'm not a critic, but I'm just telling things that how I felt, and it took me back to my days in Manhattan where I met my heroes, and I had those chances to meet them, probably even certain times to work with them. I remember I did a documentary for John Moran, who's a friend of Steve's and mine, of course. He did the Manson Family Opera, Charles Manson, the whole thing. And his next album was Matthew in the School of Life, and I got to do a small documentary for that, and got the chance to do some interviews with Philip Glass and Allen Ginsberg, and there was a schedule made for Iggy Pop also. For some reason it just didn't happen. So Steve would say like, hey, I'm just giving you only 15 minutes, all right? 15 minutes. Please finish with Philip Glass in 15 minutes. And we are walking on the hallway, and there's David Bowie. Just don't talk to him, do anything. Just look down and go. And I'm like looking down and walking, passing by, and I'm like, my hero, David Bowie, and I'm like just walking, passing by. So anyway, with that Philip Glass thing, he was so kind, so nice. Myself and Doron did the camera work, and it was the camera from, I think it was Jonathan's camera, I think, or Byron. But anyway, it was a high 8, and Doron did the camera work, and I was asking the questions. And anyway, after a while, he said very humbly, "Can I go now?" And I looked at the clock, and it was like, we have taken 45 minutes instead of 15. He had given us 45 minutes, and he was very simple, very humble, and "Can I go now?" And me, of course, like an idiot, I had to give him the soundtrack of Sinadesh in Wales of Maya, which myself and Ernie was the main composer, and together we composed some tracks too. So I had to give him. What an idiot. On the lift, I'm like, "Could you please take a listen to this?" And I was like, "Sure." And he just, I wouldn't have done it today, but, you didn't know things, so you just did it. So, this brought back to my memories as well, my memories of all this romantic and I mean, everybody loves Paris except me, I suppose, but whenever you watch Midnight in Paris, you always love Paris. And it's just wanted to add a thought to many thoughts that people had. Fabulous movie. Yeah. Nostalgia. Very creative. I love the way he gives the idea to do the Exterminating Angel for Louis Buñuel. That was good.